goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Do the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and onions, flying rider. I get those goosebumps every time.
Newcastle United.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Hang on. You changed your t-shirt. You thought I wouldn't notice.
I did. That's why it was off. Quick change during the intro. Good evening, everyone. Nice, good way to start with a smile on our faces, having some fun because, it's going to be an interesting discussion tonight, that's for sure. Welcome to Loaded Bag NUFC, the fully loaded transfer show. We are back to discuss all things Newcastle United and to discuss what the hell is going on at this moment in time, because I have got no idea. People in the chat, I don't think have got any idea. They're putting their tunes in, which is good. But Daz, how are you on this fine Tuesday evening?
I'm good, Pete. Not too bad. I'm just wondering, would you be able to present the MTV Music Awards? There's a lot of wardrobe changes in those, or the Oscars, or something like that. You never know. But maybe in the future, if Sky doesn't go as planned. But all good, all good. It's actually, it was raining and stuff here today, but now it's just gone very clammy all of a sudden. The heat is on its way. The sun is coming, but. All good with me. Nearly at the midweek point. No Chris tonight. Chris is traveling back from Sheffield. He was busy working today. How are you?
All good. All good. Work is as it normally is. Just cutting down the days until the summer holidays. Cannot wait. But work is all good. Work is coming along nicely at home as well. We are making progress. Probably a week or so away to having it sort of done, but we're getting there. We are getting there nicely. But people in the chat, how are you? Let us know how you're feeling. Get your likes in ASAP. Get your questions in as well. I can already see what the heck from Stevie Lee. We will get into it. Do not worry about that, but there are other pressing things that we need to discuss before we get to that point. Daz, I have to kind of just still tab just for a second and run it back, because we have to start with this talking point. I want to get your thoughts on it. People in the chat, let us know your thoughts on this as well, because we got probably just over an hour ago now the breaking news that Paul Mitchell had in fact gone and has left the club, apparently. I'll give you the timeline of how this all played out. So Craig Hope of the Daily Mail puts a story out. Paul Mitchell stands down from sporting director. Before it was a case of relieved of his duties. So slight change in that. Andy Howe being asked to step up with Steve Nixon to take on responsibilities. Interestingly, Julian Ward of Liverpool among the names for the vacant position. A little bit more information from Craig Hope. Intermediaries and some clubs informed today that Paul Mitchell has now handed over Steve Nixon and Andy Howe ahead of the 30th of June to hand over his responsibilities. Then we get a little bit of a twist at this point. Luke Edwards, as always, comes out with his 2 pence on this situation. Paul Mitchell will continue working for Newcastle United until the 30th of June. What is going on right now? Has not left the club. He then slightly backtracks and agrees with Craig Hope, saying he's staying in responsibilities for deals being handed over to Andy Howe and Steve Nixon this week. It doesn't mean that Mitchell has left. So responsibilities handed over, but still in the job. We then get from Craig Hope, as of today, everyone, clubs, agents, and staff are working on a proviso that Paul Mitchell has handed over responsibilities, meaning he is done. Nobody knows what's going on. For clarity, Craig Hope asks for clarity ASAP. Club is now saying still employed with the club is Paul Mitchell until the end of the month. On the same day, agents and other clubs have been told otherwise. That's what the hell is going on here? It's mad.
Dave, there's two ways you can look at this. I think there's one that it's a nothing story, right? Just go with me for a second. One that's a nothing story, and it's two journos getting the information from different sources, and now we're kind of eventually getting where we are. We knew who was leaving anyway. We knew who was going to be pulling the strings while as he was departing. That's one way you can look at it. The other way you can look at it is we look at an absolute mess and we don't know what we're doing. Who should buying and selling clubs be dealing with? It just for a club that wants to be at the elite level, it's not a good look. And it's been messy, and it's been messy the last while as well. The whole Dan Ashworth thing as well. You know, these are the things we should be getting right. These are the things that should be the simple things to be getting right. We can't keep chopping and changing like this, and it makes us look amateurish. So yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating as well, because all we want to see as players, we're already a bit frustrated. We wanted to know what's happening with players coming in. This is meant to be our biggest window probably ever, and with this going into the Champions League, it's also one that Eddie Howe said that he wanted to get his players in quick, and we're still waiting to see what's happened. Nothing has happened yet. There's no need to panic or anything like that, but it's just it just doesn't make us look good, and I don't think it would put off a player, let's say, coming to join Newcastle, but we need to cut this out and get our house in order and look like a professional outfit.
I have to be honest. Yeah, I agree with that, Daz. Someone just put it in the chat, and it was the word that I had in this. It was Jimmy Watt, and he said it's the word embarrassing. It really, for me, is embarrassing, this situation. Others in the chat are absolutely right. Nothing has necessarily changed. But what this has caused is a whole load of confusion, which is not ideal for this situation. Not ideal for his fans, not ideal for people reporting on the club, not ideal for the club in itself, not ideal for what, and touch on what you mentioned, Daz, as well, not ideal for the people negotiating with Newcastle United, agents, other clubs, not knowing what's going on. It doesn't look professional. It really isn't a good look for Newcastle United. I mean, we can try and put a positive spin on it, and do all of that jazz, but it still doesn't look good. And although people may disagree with him and don't necessarily like his reporting, Craig Hope, he's asked for clarity, and I absolutely believe we need clarity now. It needs to be confirmed by the club, whether he's gone, whether he's not. Radio silence for me isn't good enough at this point. There needs to be clarity on what the situation actually is. And actually some verbal clarity will just clarify it for his fans, but more importantly, for the people they're negotiating with. Because as what's been mentioned, we still haven't signed anyone, albeit that there's a talking point on that we can come back to. But we still haven't signed anyone, and we're still negotiating, as what's been reported, actively with players that we're desperate to sign. It's not a great look. However, in my opinion, I think Paul Mitchell shouldn't be involved in transfers. I absolutely believe that as he's now leaving the club, he shouldn't be involved in them at all. Because I don't want Paul Mitchell, who's going to be walking out the door in what, 2 weeks' time, okay, to be knowing or being actively involved in the kind of intricacies of the deals that we're trying to do in this moment in time. He should be stepped aside. If he stays till the 30th, fine. Let him clear out his desk. Let him push some papers until the 30th. No problem. But not involved in transfers. I'm not against Andy Howe and Steve Nixon being involved in this situation, involved in transfers, being pushed up the ladder. Go for it. Crack on. If it means that we're going to get players in earlier and quicker, let's get it done now. But the whole situation in itself isn't ideal, and it's I think it's made a bit of a mockery of the structure again at Newcastle United. So, what?
Yeah, and look in comparison, right? Us here at Loaded, right? If we were dealing with a sponsor, we one of us would continue the discussions to a conclusion and try and come to an agreement or a deal like that. We're already doing this as a hobby. This is Newcastle United wanted to be one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's just sorted out. Just simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron puts in here, the question I have to ask is, what does Bruno, Isak, and our best players think about this? Bruno says himself he needs signings. I mean, I'll be honest, like they've been on international duty. I don't think they've been keeping close eye on what's been happening with the intricacies of the club. Being honest, I don't know what your thoughts on this, Daz. I don't think they'll be too bothered on the fact that this Paul Mitchell situation's happened. I don't think they'll be overly bothered because they would have known he's leaving the club.
It's not like the Amanda Staveley one where she was to everyone, she was a bit like a mother, and they had that close relationship. I don't know what kind of relationship that Paul Mitchell had with a lot of the players. I'm sure he had a good relationship with some, maybe not so much with others. Who knows? But especially the ones he was slating before. But yeah, I think that they're probably used to this as well, and people depart left, right, and centre as well. But just in the key positions at this key point in time, as we need to be making transfers, it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo wins. Great to see you in the chat. Says 13 days PSR deadline. TikTok. We're still in the mix. We are absolutely in the mix. I'm not worried about that. Like you know that teams are going to be panicking towards that. We're not one of them, thankfully. But I think where's your thoughts, Dad, at this point in time with regards to Newcastle United making a signing before June the 30th? Do you still believe that Newcastle will make that signing, or do you think all of our activities now going to come beyond June into July and August?
I still believe, Pete. Every day I get up, I believe, and even I behind the scenes. Not only do I have 5 posters created for players that we've potentially signed, but I also have one show set up ready to just make live when he eventually does sign. I hope, but that's nothing new. That goes on every summer and every transfer window. So. Yeah, but I do believe we will sign someone before the end of June. But things like this don't help towards that as well. But just before I move on, I just want to shout out to Tickle My Tonali, who says, "Sign up Bonucci. That tackle in the charity game was class. He still got it. A lot of fake news out there. Does my nut in?" I didn't see the tackle. I didn't see that charity game actually. It was the Soccer Aid one, was it?
Yeah, Soccer Aid England against World 11. I did have it on. I was watching a couple of games actually. I was watching. What was I watching? Was it on Sunday? Was it Tina? Oh no, it was Asula. I think I was watching it. Asula. But yeah, I had a couple of games on, but I did see the tackle. It weren't that good of a tackle. Like literally, he won the ball fair and square, and then he just kind of like fell into it. He just like clattered into a heap. It was just like holding a side or a shoulder, whatever it was. But yeah, Bonucci in his prime was top.
Yeah, he was.
Top quality.
It wasn't like the Mourinho tackle in one of those Soccer Aid games. It's good when he was a manager and he tackled someone that was running on the wing. You don't remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, was it the he was on the sidelines, isn't he? He was like moving back or something. I love Marie. It is quality stuff.
Class.
But yeah, lots to be talking about. Look, we've got. Should we go there now? Should we not?
Do it.
Okay. Look, right. This is kind of a double whammy, really, because I want to get your thoughts firstly of an update with regards to this man, Joao Pedro. There is more and more news coming out every day. Not necessarily from our journos, but in other areas with regards to Joao Pedro. And the latest seems to be, look away, Chris, now. The Sun have reported that Newcastle set to open talks with Brighton over a £60 million move. A little bit in addition to what Luke Edwards said the other day, in which he got a little bit of stick for, because he did say we were set to open talks, but the report and the article was the same one from the back end of last week. So there had been no update in his actual piece that he'd written. However, there has been news today, a little bit of updates. Alex Crook of TalkSport has reported that Newcastle fear Premier League rivals will hijack the £70 million move for Joao Pedro. And in fact, has been reported that it is Chelsea who has been linked with a move and an interest, something that Craig Hope and Luke Edwards early on last week had mentioned, that, you know, there were murmurs of Chelsea being potentially interested, but Newcastle are now starting to fear this particular situation that Chelsea come in. Now, I want to ask you this question, Daz, because it's one that I thought of when I saw those links with Chelsea and that fear that Newcastle United potentially had. Do you think that this news coming out about Joao Pedro has any way, shape or form linked to what's going on maybe with Paul Mitchell right now? Because although Paul Mitchell hasn't left, it's very clear now that they've passed on responsibilities to Andy Howe and Steve Nixon. Do you think there's maybe a link there as to why that's happening? Because I've got to be honest, I think there could well be. I want to get your thoughts on that one. First on Joao Pedro and then the potential links with Paul Mitchell.
Just what you brought up there, I didn't see that TalkSport one. I didn't see the 70 million figure either. I thought, I knew we were meant to be going in. Was starting at 60, but and of course the club that you have to put up is Chelsea again. They're always all over everything, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like they might as well just have a league of their own, because they have so many players and involved in any kind of movement of a player at all. I understood it before the Club World Cup thing. That's fair enough, but fuck them. Just fuck off, really. Fuck off, and let's just sign someone.
Do you believe that genuinely Chelsea are at the table for Joao Pedro?
No, I don't. No, I think like he's a good enough player for them to be at the table for, but no, they can't, because they can't be in for everyone really, and have a finger in every pie. So no, I don't believe that the Chelsea one. But they always come back to bite us at the same time. So I just want this to move and get one done. And like you do, Pete, and like everyone does, just get one done so we can, because we've got so much to do. This you can't cram everything into July, because there's the preseason, there's the tours as well. There's so much happening, and that goes against what Eddie said he wanted at the start. Is that players in early. So again, we said as well, the players we're talking about, Eddie needs to work on them. Whoever we bring in needs to work on them, get used to playing the Eddie way, and they need preseason for that. So we are giving others a head start if we're leaving things till later. We are shooting ourselves in the foot going into the season, that big season.
Absolutely. On both of those perspectives. Now, for me, I actually do think it could well be linked. You know, Newcastle United have Eddie Howe's talked about moving quickly, wanting to move things on. Now, these are just my opinions here, but I just have a feeling that Newcastle have had to move the goalposts on Paul Mitchell slightly to ensure that he's not necessarily involved in transfers. It's just my opinion. I've got no facts on this, no information on this. I just feel like it almost kind of knits together in terms of the situation. And I do think that this could be potentially why this move has happened now. And I do think it could well actually be linked to Joao Pedro. Look, if you want the player, if you're Eddie Howe and you want the player, and this isn't moving quick enough, Eddie Howe must be absolutely seething right now at the thought that he could potentially lose out to another club. Now, I'm with you, Daz. The reason I asked you the question is because I don't believe Chelsea are necessarily at the table for Joao Pedro. Because you look at that Chelsea squad and you look at who they've already signed, there isn't anywhere for him. There's
yeah.
Go on.
So you think that this switch of taking the laptop away from Paul Mitchell before he goes and handed it over to Andy Howe and Steve Nixon to get things done, that this is all orchestrated by Eddie Howe? Things aren't happening. Let's move things around and get things moving.
I do.
Okay.
I think this could be a play by Eddie Howe to say we aren't signing the players quick enough. We're stalling here, and these players may well get interest from elsewhere. And with the tentative interest of Chelsea, is this kind of sparked an interest? I mean, initially in the report it said a London club. It could be somebody else. It could be Arsenal for all we know. It could be Chelsea that's been linked. It could be who's to say it's not Tottenham. Like we don't know which London club it is, although they're reporting it's Chelsea. But even that noise in itself is a concern and makes me think that Eddie Howe has moved the goalpost to move these processes on quicker. We cannot afford to lose out another top target in Joao Pedro to another club. And so he'll want this deal done as soon as possible. So for me, I think this absolutely could be a power play from Eddie Howe to get things moving and get this deal done as soon as possible. It's clear he's a top target. It's clear from what's already been reported that Newcastle are willing to pay close to the fee that Brighton want, which is rumoured to be around 60 million. I think the 70 million was when, I don't know if you remember, Fabrizio Romano put out that it was 70 million euros that they wanted. So I think it must be around the 60 million pound mark that they're looking for. So for me, I think that's what I think Newcastle are willing to pay to get him through the door. And it's just a case of getting that ball rolling. And it doesn't seem that it's moving quick enough. Now, where have we seen that before, Daz? Last summer. We had this with Mark Gay and it didn't get done. Is this a Paul Mitchell thing? Is it too slow? Is Eddie Howe wanting things done quicker? Because let's be honest, when he had Amanda Staveley here, things were done. Bids were put in, deals were done.
True.
And she got things for Eddie Howe on the table. He's not got that as quickly as he needed. So therefore, it could be that situation. But Joao Pedro is an interesting one. That's the one that I think everyone wants right now. You still have that mindset, Daz? You want Joao Pedro at the club?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the more you see, the more clips and the more people talking about him as well and giving insights on him, the more you want him and see what he can bring to the table. Yeah, we want it done. We just need something done. If it's not Joao Pedro, I want one of the others in. I don't really care who comes in first, but I just need to know that we're moving. Otherwise, there's a lot of doubt in people's mind as what is happening, the longer it goes on. Because it's not just one player we need to bring in this summer. There's a few.
Absolutely, there is a few, and well, as you mentioned, Joao Pedro is not the only one that we are looking at. And interestingly, there is
before you go on, Pete. I just this doubt in my mind as well, and I just linked to this commentary about the stadium announcement. In the same way, there's been no announcement on the stadium. It was it was going to be February. It was going to be January, February. Then it was March. Then it was April.
Yeah.
Then we had the League Cup final and everything like that as well. Then it was going to be the end of the season. Then now it's meant to be, or the latest thing is by the end of June. And the more this goes on as well, you kind of start to think, are PIF really in this for the long game? Because by putting a marker down with the stadium, they are in it for the long game. But you're kind of seeds of doubt start to creep in. It's what I'm trying to say. We haven't bought anyone for a long time. We haven't made the decision on the stadium. It keeps being put off and put off. We want to see some action here. They need to put down a marker that it could all come together. Wouldn't be ideal. I like things to be spread out a bit, but I don't know. There's just a bit of until we get things over the line at the other part of phrase. It's just a bit of doubt. Sorry, jump in there.
Okay, so what's your stance on that then? Do you think that PIF aren't in it for the long haul, or do you think PIF aren't that bothered about Newcastle United? Because it's an interesting topic, and there's lots of opinions there. There are some fans out there that actually think, yeah, they're not interested. It's not a priority. They're not putting the money in. You know, there's talks about the fact that they're investing more in Saudi, in their Saudi clubs, buying all the Premier League players, which is having a detrimental effect to Newcastle. Where do you stand in all of that then? Where do you stand with PIF right now at this point?
I still believe that they're with us for the long term. And I just link in the question that Ginny has to have here. Does it bother you that Saudi PIF owned clubs are bailing out our rivals and overpaying for rivals players? Look, that's that kind of thing as well. All that added together does kind of put a bit of doubt. And that's why I'm saying I want to see some action and on bringing in players, which we should and will have, and on an announcement of what we're doing with the stadium. That's only then that puts any kind of doubt out the window, because we need to have some reassurance, I think. Even though a lot has been done already, but from where we are now, we'd like to see some reassurance.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I'll be honest with you. I think anyone that's concerned about PIF's involvement will, in my opinion, kind of sidestep that thought when the new stadium is announced that it's happening, and it will be. Look, it should have been early 2025. We're now halfway through 2025, and we still haven't heard yet, but we will at some point. Like it will come along and it will be announced, and they'll sign off for a new stadium. And I think at that point, that will really make people aware of PIF's involvement with Newcastle United. Because let's not kid ourselves. Getting a brand new stadium, in my opinion, will be one of the world's best when it's done and completed. That's a heavy investment for PIF, to invest in our club.
Skin in the game, then.
Yeah,
it's not just, we're not just an asset because they have to wait for it to be built. We're not just an asset that can just to sell on to someone else and make a profit on, because they would make a profit on us. Now they've taken us from nowhere where we were to on the right path at least. But so just need to know. But I think that the stadium announcement really lays down the marker that they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's where I am. For me, I do think PIF are absolutely 100% involved in Newcastle United. They want Newcastle United to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest club. In fact, our chairman said that he wants Newcastle United to be number one. I still believe that to be the case, absolutely. But as we know with PIF, they do have other priorities that's just part of their business model and what they do. So it's not always going to be fully focused on Newcastle United, but when needed, they will come in and do whatever they need to improve the club. But they've always done that ever since they walked through the door. Nothing's changed. Now, what I will say is PSR, I think, is hampered PIF's involvement in Newcastle United. I think if there was no PSR, you would see a more heavily invested Newcastle United with PIF being able to do so. The amount of money that they're putting in, they're not able to, purely because, particularly with transfers and investment into the squad, because they're not allowed to. And this is where we'll see things happen this summer. New stadium will be announced. On top of that, we will see players come through the door. There is no doubt about it in my eyes that we will see those players come in and make a difference. And they'll show in their intent and their involvement in the club. New sponsorships will start to come in. Things will start to get built. When we see the training ground on top of that, we'll see all of those things that will make a massive difference. But it has to take time. It's not a Chelsea. It's not a Man City. It's not going to be that quick investment. It's going to be more patient over a period of time. And that's sometimes what we don't have, because we've had it for so long under Mike Ashley. We don't have patience now. We want everything right now because we've got what we have. But I think we just need to be a little bit more patient with the build of the club, because it will take time. The one thing I'll say, Daz, to finish, is that once we're there, we will stay there. So once we get that growth of revenue, once we get that new stadium that can bring us in record profits and revenue in addition to, we will be fighting alongside the likes of record revenue and money coming in along with the likes of Spurs. But the difference is that our owners will allow us to invest every penny that we generate off the back of that, as they've always said since they first came into the club. I just think we need to be patient with what we're doing.
And I agree with everything you're saying, Pete, but there comes a time when I'm not there yet. I'm just sick of being patient. Being patient on the whole takeover, patient on the first bid from via Mandan Stevie, right the way through, and everything else. 14 years of Mike Ashley, patience. Patience from coming second in the league under Kevin Keegan, and everything. It's always just want to get there. Just want to show us what's happening. Just let us put the behind the scenes, and then we can peek behind the curtain with the whole stadium. I think really is for me is because even buying a few players is not a statement that they're hanging around. The stadium is the one that they're going to. That means that they're in it for the medium to long term.
Yeah, it's but you're absolutely right. It's the let's not forget what we've already achieved, though. 2 Champions Leagues in 3 seasons. A trophy after 70 years domestically. Like, we've already done so well in these 4 years, and that's without the heavy investment of PIF. You think when we're there, just being that little bit more patient, Daz, could bear fruits that we've never seen before, and that's the exciting thing. Those fruits.
Yeah, I know. And look, you are right. You are right, but a lot of that goes down to Eddie Howe and the miracles he's worked there. Let's get behind him and bring him in who he wants. It is his window. There's no one in his way. Just bring him the players he wants.
And
back to where we were.
And that is a great segue, is what I was just about to say, because before we went sideways, yes, Dan United, go check him out on TikTok. June the 21st, I believe, he is going live with his YouTube. So go and subscribe to him now. Dan United on YouTube. Great lad, great content is on its way. We are needing to get to 200 likes. You just segued me with Sophie B's comment in there. 358 plus in the chat. We're only asking for 200. That'll just be easy, done and dusted. Let's get that done. But we were talking about Joao Pedro beforehand, about his interest in Newcastle. He's keen to join. Newcastle are keen to sign him. A little bit of a worry about Chelsea and all of that talk. However, he's not the only Brighton player that we're apparently interested in. Because literally 20 minutes before we came live, there was news, interest in a Brighton centre-back, one that we've talked about on Loaded Mag NUFC. And it's this man, Jean-Paul Van Heck. Brighton. Dutch centre back, can also play right back. People will know him for his little spat with Anthony Gordon, in which he got sent off. Anthony Gordon did in the FA Cup game. But apparently, from Brighton's perspective, this is a report from Brighton's end now. I think it's Brighton World that reported on this. Newcastle have held provisional talks over signing John Paul Van Hecke from Brighton. Joao Pedro, therefore, isn't the only JP who could be heading to St. James's Park. Now, he says to the Brighton fans and Newcastle fans, now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't those two just have a bust up? They did, very, very publicly. Well, Newcastle United are keen to sign both. Now, he is a player, as I've mentioned, we've talked about Load Mag and NUFC, Daz. Very, very talented centre-back. We need a right-sided centre-back to compete with Fabian Schär. What do you make of John Paul Van Hecke's potential links and Newcastle's interest in him this summer?
Well, we did cover him in detail in the defensive reinforcements show in the first batch of fully loaded transfer shows. So we spent a good while on him. I like him. I like him when watching Brighton, a bit of Brighton this year, and he's one that we added to the list because he was one that we were kind of saying Newcastle maybe take a look at him. I think it'd be difficult to get two players out of Brighton. Like Brighton are, we know from them, their dealings with Chelsea, they like to, and our own dealings with Dan Ashworth to strike a bargain for them. Let's say that they get a good deal. So I think getting two players out of Brighton might be a bit extreme. So I don't think we'll see both of them coming. But I definitely like him. I don't think he's not at the top of my list, but he was close to the top. He was good enough to make our list the other day or a couple of weeks ago. See what happens, but I don't know. I can't see two from Brighton. What about you? Do you think we get two from Brighton?
I think it will be difficult to get two from Brighton, but hey, if you're going to get two from Brighton, they're the best two you probably ask for because they're both excellent players. And Jean-Paul Van Hecke, I've been really, really impressed with him this season. I pulled up some stats the last time we did a show in terms of some of the top centre-backs in Europe's top 7 leagues. And Jean-Paul Van Hecke was at the top in terms of, I believe it was his ball playing and progressive passes. He was one of the top, or actually at the top in terms of performance. Other people have talked about it. He's a ball playing centre back. He's someone that can eloquently bring the ball out and link defence to attack quite quickly. He's calm on the ball. He's quick. He's good in the air. He can nick a goal. And as well as that, he's a tough tackling centre back. There's a couple of big blocks that he made against Newcastle in the FA Cup. There's a couple of big blocks that he's made against multiple teams over the course of the season in games that I've watched him. He has all the fundamentals to be a very, very... I don't know about that.
It's the good cop, bad cop thing. We've got to play this off. There's no point putting us all agreeing on everything.
And I think we came to a mini agreement in the end on that situation. But Jean-Paul Van Hecke, I really do rate. I think he's a top level centre back. The one thing I'll say, Daz, about Brighton is that let's not forget. Look, they earn and generate a lot of money through players being sold, but they actually spent a hell of a lot of money last summer. I think they spent more than anybody else in the Premier League last summer. I think they spent 210, 220 million. They've never done that before. So they have had a huge outlay in terms of investing in players. So maybe they need to move one or two on. And let's be honest, I want to get your thoughts on this as well, Dad. Like, Brighton didn't get European football at all. And so when you've got players, let's be honest here. Let's be frank with it. if Newcastle United hadn't got European football, there would have been links with Gordon leaving, with Bruno leaving, with Tonali leaving, with Isaac leaving. The best players would have been
Tino Livramento. Could have been more realistic transfer if that was the case.
Absolutely. So does that not still apply to Brighton, who have had European football recently, have been fighting up around that top table and significantly missed out? Does that mean that maybe their best players are now asking to leave the club? Could that be a factor in that? What do you think?
Well, isn't there also a thing where the owners, isn't Tony Bloom, who gave so much loan to Brighton, do they not have to? But those loans now have to. They need to pay interest on that. So there's some kind of there was discussions on that. I remember at the time. So a lot of clubs are screwed over because of that, and rightly so, because they were getting an advantage over others that way. So that might come into play as well. Not getting Europe is going to eat into them as well, because they pushed the boat out by signing so many players last summer, and they've started signing them players again this summer. I know they've signed one or two. I've seen them pop up with players with the jersey holding up the scarf, so they've started already. But still can't see two going.
It's going to be difficult.
I think if we got Joao Pedro, I'd be happy to move on to another club and raid them instead. But if Joao Pedro, let's say for example, was to go to Chelsea, even Todd, or somewhere else, then go back then and do a deal for Van Heck.
Well, look, Van Heck is definitely the type of centre back that we'd need, and I just delved into, before we came on, a little bit of a comparison between Shaw and Van Heck, and it was quite telling actually in terms of the level of performance. I'll just drop it on the screen now, so you can see there the red in terms of Van Heck, or the pink, whatever way you see it, and the blue for Fabian Shaw. Now, you know, we laud quite rightly Fabian Shaw for his carrying abilities and his passing ability, forward passes, progressive passes. But as you can see there, Jean-Paul Van Heck wipes the floor with Fabian Shaw in all areas of that game. So you could argue that he is a better ball-playing centre-back in performance, in data, than Fabian Shaw. And at 24 years old, Van Heck would provide absolutely the perfect transition, in my opinion, for Fabian Shaw and Van Heck to switch places. That transition of those two, seeing that data, would be absolutely seamless, and would be one of the best investments we could get in a centre back this summer. I just didn't think it was possible, but if it can be done, I would absolutely go there and get Jean-Paul Van Heck from Brighton if it can be done. Now, quick question for you, Daz. If you had to choose out of the two, if you could only pick one, Joao Pedro or Jean-Paul Van Heck, now you've seen that data in comparison to Fabian Shaw, does that change your mind slightly? Which one would you prefer over the other if you could only sign one?
Joao Pedro. It's still the answer, Pete. But I really like Van Heck, and like he stood out for us when we played them in the past as well. We've noted it in our match reviews. No, I look at. I'm still all on Diomande. I still want Diomande. And actually, there's a good... we may revert back to him in a few minutes as well, but there's a good video from Antonio Mango on Diomande. So it's about 11 minutes long, but I advise you to go have a look at that. He goes into great detail. He also pinpoints one or two of his weaknesses that he can work on to improve, but he's no doubt in his mind that Eddie can get the best out of him. But I was disappointed now, Pete, if we don't get Joao Pedro. We started the window. We all wanted Bueno, that wasn't happening. It didn't go on the whole saga of the summer like it has in the past with Madison and whoever else. I can't remember now. But yeah, I want to get Joao Pedro over the line now and kick on. I just think we're starting back again from scratch of maybe the club aren't and Eddie Howe isn't, but just like we are. It'll take us a while to get over that and move on to someone else.
Yeah, I don't like this, Daz. I don't like this.
Fuck off, Todd. I'm sorry.
Just stop, Todd. Stop right there.
We do enjoy your banter, though, Todd.
We have had enough of this stealing our targets. Just stay away. Just back off, Todd. Back off. That's all we need to say on that one. But yeah, it's an interesting link, one that I didn't expect us to be having a conversation about tonight with Jean-Paul Van Heck of Brighton. I haven't had a chance to speak to Adam yet to get his thoughts on that. I imagine he would not be happy. What was interesting in the comments with Jean-Paul Van Heck when it came out. So when this tweet was put out by Charlie, the Brighton fans were, one of them was almost like saying he was going to vomit of the thought of losing Jean-Paul Van Heck, which is always a nice sign. It's always a good sign that he's a quality player and they don't want to lose him because they were not happy about his potential link.
Adam would be of the same opinion because I remember he bigging him up no end when he was out with us. Now we did say like every player has his price as well, but that price because that in that article or I did see did I see something like 27 million? Definitely, you definitely have to pay more than 27 million to get him. I think you're into the 45 million kind of mark to get him from Brighton, a Premier League club, buying Premier League experience, young, great age. And everything else, it's going to be. It's not going to be below 30 that's quoted. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely not. We've got some other links here that I wanted to kind of bring to your attention. There's one here with a potential departure this summer. There's been a few departures being rumored, the likes of Willock, the likes of Longstaff, but one that hasn't really been talked about. Get your opinion on this. Is Kieran Trippier? Lee Ryder writes a piece and says that Newcastle United will consider potentially letting Kieran Trippier go this summer. To save on the wages. He's on a significant wage at Newcastle United, into the hundreds of thousands. I think 120 grand a week has been rumoured that he's on, which is for Newcastle United significant money. What do you make of that potential move? Would you allow Kieran Trippier to go this summer? Do you think it's the right time now? He's still got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah, flip flop at times with Kieran Trippier. I think he's in Geordie Shore now or something, or doing something with Geordie Shore. I don't know what he's up to. And where is his head at most of the time? If his head is in the game and we know what qualities he has, then I'd keep him. Only Eddie Howe, I think, knows where he's at in that frame, because I haven't worked up with him the last 2 years of where things have gone a bit weird with Kieran Trippier. I think Eddie Howe will want to keep him. I think if it's the decision lies with Eddie Howe and no one else, I think he stays. And it's if we can let him go, we're going to have to spend big to replace him. There's no point bringing in someone as well that's not going to be ready to jump in and do a job. Because I think Harrison Ashby, I don't see him coming back into the frame again. I think he'd be either sold or put out on loan again. So I think we're going to keep him. Whatever offer we get now is not going to be anything to write home about. The time, if we were to sell him, was the time that Bayern Munich were looking at him, and was it 12 million or something that was talked about then. But I think he goes nowhere now. And I think we said the same in our squad game.
We did, and I don't want to lose Kieran Trippier. I want Kieran Trippier to stay. I think his leadership, seeing us through the Carabao Cup and into just before he got injured, the back end of the season, I thought he was absolutely sensational. And he was really back to his best. And, you know, you don't want to lose that type of Kieran Trippier. But I do feel there's a chance he could actually leave, even though I don't want him to. And I just think those wages might well play a part. Maybe him playing week in, week out might play a part. Tino Livramento had a great end of the season. Will probably go in as number one choice at the beginning of next season when Lewis Hall's back fit. Could well be something in which, you know, we might make a sacrifice and collect some wages back that way. But again, you're back to the point, who are you going to bring in? I mean, you got Leo Shahar, the young lad who's just signed a new contract at the club. He's still a young lad, but did they bring him through? I expect him to be a part of pre-season. I fully expect him to be a part of pre-season. I really like him from the little bits that I've seen, and I think there's massive potential there. But yeah, we'd have to go in and buy another right back. So I wouldn't want to lose him, but I think there is a chance that he could potentially be lost this summer. So I don't think that one is going anywhere as yet in terms of you know, being one that's dead in the water. Another one.
Just before we leave Trips, I think I just remembered what I said in squad game is that just and seeing him live as well. What he brings as well when he's sub is unreal to watch him, because he's you know, they're doing the warm up, but he's coaching and he's guiding and he's providing that leadership as a sub where Mad Dog and Eddie Howe can't get to. He's like having another assistant manager on the sideline. So that's invaluable as well, guiding people through games, and especially with Champions League as well. If it was a case that he's not on the pitch, he can. You hear him. He's so vocal, and it would be that you don't want to lose that either. So that's another reason to keep him on board. Carry on, Pete.
No, another player to be thrown out there is one that I didn't expect to be linked to. Graham Bailey's talks that Saudi have been interested in Joe Linton as a potential signing. Do you see anything in this one, Daz? Joe Linton out?
Graham, does he just make these stories up just to piss us off, or is it linked? I saw the headline. I said, "This is he going to get a reference of Conor Gallagher in the piece?" I was waiting for it because it's just like I just make this story up just to piss the lads off. No, I don't see Anthony in this, but if we wanted a massive windfall and to blow our PSR concerns out of the water, whatever offer that we would get from Saudi, tell them to double it, and away we go. But I don't want to lose Big Joe. We'd be bringing in 2 or 3 players just to like with the cash that we would get, we'd be able to afford it as well. But yeah, he offers something different. I don't think we'd be able to find someone that would offer that what he offers. We'd find players that will offer something different again and a different bow to our armor. But just no, I think Big Joe stays, and it's a non-story.
Sorry, Graham, not happening. Not today. Not any day. Joe Linton stays. End of discussion. Okay, moving on. So we had this link that didn't really go anywhere with Sebastian Villa mentioning that there was a 40 million bid rejected for Anthony Elanga. No one's really confirmed or denied this report from this perspective. Seems like at this moment in time, Elanga is the only sort of target for Newcastle United in that right wing position. There's been some tentative links with 1 or 2 players, but you know the baffling thing about it, a player that we have been linked before is potentially available for just 17 million. Johan Bakayoko of PSV suddenly becomes a bargain offer, 17 million bargain, potentially available. Right wing, plays with his left foot priority. goals and assists, quick down the line. Why are we not going for him, Dan? What's going on?
For that 17 million, yeah, if that figure is true, that on NUFC blog there. Like we were talking about before, we're talking about 30 million and those kind of figures. And I remember my comments at the time was, yeah, he looks good, but can he transition that into the Premier League? And some players do, and some players don't. And he looks like when they could. And at 17 million, it would be worth a gamble, especially when the stocks of 50, 60 for Elanga, you could use that money elsewhere then to strengthen. But this is back again to where we've been, and someone put it in the chat there just a second ago as well. I think it's from Jimmy. If we're struggling with PSR over the years, why are we not looking at young foreign players instead of proven Premier League players that cost twice as much? That's what we've been saying for years. But for this window, I don't think that's going to happen. Even though there was talk this week that there's we all know the players that Eddie Howe is looking at for in the Premier League. Well, there's another one out of the list today. But the European targets, we don't know, or we haven't been mentioned yet. Let's say from some of the articles or the tweets I've seen. But yeah, I'd look at him for that price. Do you think we get him for 17 million? Why would they sell for that price? What's his contract like?
I think there's a chance that he could move for anywhere between 17 and 25 million. I don't think it would be necessarily the big fees that have been talked about previously. I think in January there was rumors of I think it was like 35 to 40 million. I thought even back then that was expensive. I don't see that being a potential fee to get Bakayoko out of PSV. That's just my opinion. So I'm not saying it would be absolutely 17 million, but I don't think that's far off the type of fee that you could get for someone like him. I think it's something that Newcastle United need to potentially look at, especially, for example, if they're going to pay 60 million for Joao Pedro, and maybe, just an example, they have to pay 40 to 45 million for Jean-Paul Van Heck, as an example, as a type of player. Okay, another player that we've touched on briefly, we'll come back to in just a second, could be another option is that centre-back. But equally that sort of price. If you're going to pay more for a player in another position, maybe getting a player in the right wing for cheaper can balance out how you've spent your money over that period of time. Maybe that's a possibility. But for me, I'd be paying 17 million, 20 million, 25 million for Johan Bakayoko. Got bags of potential, already playing well at a good standard, and in the Champions League as well last season. So we can play at the top level. 17 to 25 million, for me, you're getting a bargain. You're getting a bargain. We talked about Ryan Cherky being a bargain for Man City at 35, 36 million. But Johan Bakayoko at 20 to 25 million or 17 million is a massive bargain for me.
Yeah, but at the same time, like back in January, we were talking about Ryan Cherky, and we were talking about 20 million was the figure being talked about then. And like they were going, Jesus, just buy him. We'll chip in and we'll buy him ourselves at that price. But then when he went to City, wasn't like 40 something million, well, maybe it was euro. That he went to City, and then probably different add-ons and stuff like that. But so I don't know. I don't believe the 17 million figure that's being quoted there. But if it is true, yes, it makes absolute sense because it can strengthen in other areas of the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's young. If it didn't work out, you could sell him on for say 10 million at the worst.
Yeah, definitely. Another. Whilst we're talking about centre backs, we'll come back to this man. Ousmane Diomande, player we've talked about so many times. Early Mag NUFC, Daz, you've talked about him as well. We know what he can bring. He's had a couple of really good seasons at Sporting. There's been noises. Luke Edwards has talked about the fact that Ousmane Diomande has been talked about as a potential option. I believe the Athletic had name-checked Diomande with regards to that potential interest as well. Do you think Diomande is a genuine target for Newcastle United in this summer? Do you see Newcastle United signing him? Not necessarily do we want him to sign, to think that's not even a question. But can you see Newcastle United signing Ousmane Diomande this summer?
Well, I think it was about 2 years ago we started talking about him, and then about 6 months later or so, I saw stuff about Newcastle attending matches and watching Diomande. Now, this is just, I don't know how accurate the sources were on those kind of comments, but it does seem like he's one that they've been keeping an eye on over the last while. Him in 21 as well, and coming from the club in Denmark into Sporting. To me, it is one way it is a gamble, because he hasn't played in the Premier League, and in the Portuguese league, look at this. There's only 3 teams really. No offense to the other teams in that league, but 3 big teams. So how much has he been tested? Look, he's played Champions League football as well. He's an international, but then the question about the African nations as well is one you kind of go, will Eddie go for someone that's going to be gone for so many games? Then we have Shar there as well that can fill in, but ideally we if he wasn't playing in the African nations, then you'd say yes, definitely go get him. But that's the only bit of doubt I have on it. But I just think he's class. And as I mentioned earlier, go check out that video from Antonio Mango. It goes in depth, and he's all the stats as well on him, and he compares him to Shar, much like you've done with Van Heck there, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 very, very good centre backs, different in the way in which they play their game, but very, very good centre backs. And I think either one of them coming into the club would be a huge plus for Newcastle United. Both young, got massive potential, and already playing at a very high level at this moment in time. Juniester on Adam puts he has a feeling that Diomande is a smoke screen playing a game with Palace, in his opinion. We haven't talked about Mark Gay. It's all gone a little bit quiet with Mark Gay at this moment in time, Daz. Do you see any potential with that? Do you still think it's being worked on or bubbling in the background, or do you think we are actually moving on to some of the targets that we've been linked with?
Well, with Mark Gay, I don't need to look at anywhere else apart from Sammy Makala, is it? Who we had on the show with us. We did a special Gay show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So once he tweets about Gay, he is all the information about him.
Yeah.
So he's the one to watch. If there's any movement on Mark Gay, it's Sammy. Sammy is the one. And when he hasn't tweeted anything about him, I have his tweets on notification, as well as a number of others. But so once his tweet goes off, then you know something's happening with him, whether it be to Newcastle, to Todd, or to Spurs, or wherever the case may be. But so I'm not really listening to anything else. He'll be the one to know first and have the information there, I think. And as we said, when Sammy was on with us, he'll come back in, hopefully, to have a chat with us about it if there's some movement again on Mark Gay. Smoke screen, I don't know. You could say the same thing about Van Heck and a number of others. But look, if he's still hanging on for Mark Gay, he has to have a couple of a plan B and plan C, because we know what happened before. And as someone else said in the chat as well, Crystal Palace in fighting on the staying in Europe, let's say, because there's issues there around ownership and whether they can stay in the competition they're in, etc. So let's see how that plays out too.
let's wait and see. Lots of interesting news coming out, and lots of tentative links. There's another link here. I'll just briefly touch on it as well. Today with Ivan Indica, Newcastle NUFC blog had reported from an AS Roma newspaper, an account that was reported on Ivan Indica apparently is gaining a lot of interest. Us and Arsenal apparently linked with him. Again, another tentative link. I think they were looking at valuing him around 30, 34 million. Is a left-sided centre-back. I don't see that personally happening, but obviously a player we had been linked with before. Before we come to a few questions, Daz, there's one here of a player potentially leaving. Anthony Gordon. The noises around Anthony Gordon in Liverpool just keep on coming. They're obviously offered the chance to sign him last summer around the PSR, but there's talk of potentially revisiting that deal. Like, you know what's interesting about this is I'm seeing lots of different varying opinions on Anthony Gordon. Look, I think it's very obvious he didn't have a good season last season, and there was a huge drop-off in terms of quality, in my opinion. But there's lots of fans that have kind of changed their opinions on Anthony Gordon, and with all the stuff and the links and the noises around Liverpool, would be happy to move him on in the summer if it meant getting in another quality left winger to sort of replace him. Lots of concern about him, you know, in his attitude, in his way of thinking, because his level of play wasn't the same. Where are you on Anthony Gordon? You know, do you think this noise around Liverpool is just noise? Do you think there's some substance to it? Do you think they will revisit this potential deal this summer?
Yeah, okay. When it comes to Liverpool, there's some noise around Anthony Gordon. There's also some noise around Isak still. Who was believing that bullshit about Isak? Isak is going nowhere, and he's not going to Liverpool. The other thing is they've already spent a blast of money as well. I think the likes of Curtis Jones, etc., are mad for Anthony Gordon to rock up at Liverpool. It's not beyond the possibility, no. But I don't see it happen this summer with Anthony Gordon. I think again, like it would change things when it comes to PSR as well. We would need to go out and buy someone elite on that left wing. You know, we have Harvey Barnes there already. We could also put Joao Pedro there, but it would. I don't see it happening. So for me, it's a no, and they'd have to come in with something spectacular as well to have any chance. And they've done that deal already. They've done the Wirtz deal. That's their big outlay this summer.
I've said it before. I need Anthony Gordon. I need him to come back and have a really good season this season. I need to see that happen. But what? I believe he stays. I believe he stays. I believe he wants to be at Newcastle United. I believe he will come back fit and firing, ready for this season. I do believe that. But what I will say is, if there is any inklings of him being unhappy, if there's any inklings of him being disappointed or angling for a move to Liverpool, I'd sell. I wouldn't want that saga carrying on for another year. Yeah. I just wouldn't want that. I think it's really important that we have players that are absolutely 100% committed to Newcastle United. It seems like, and it's been talked about all season, when all the links with Arsenal, when all the links with Liverpool, Alexander Isak has always maintained he is happy at Newcastle United. He wants to stay. He wants to play for Newcastle United. And it's been echoed by Eddie Howe and multiple other people. So we know that's his main mindset, his mentality. We haven't quite heard the same for Anthony Gordon. And I don't know whether fans feel like they need to hear that from him to maybe go, right, okay, he wants to be here, he wants to stay. I'm not sure. I believe he wants to stay, but if there's any inklings at all that he's not happy, I do think that we may need to consider moving him on, just so we have players that are absolutely 100% committed to the cause. That's kind of where my stance is with Anthony Gordon, but he needs to have a good season, and I believe that he will. And it might not. Remember, it's not just motivated by club football. We're going into a World Cup season, and he knows if he doesn't perform, he won't make the World Cup squad.
He's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, so it almost kind of falls into Newcastle United's favour. If he's playing well and motivated, he plays well for Newcastle United and we win matches. If he doesn't, he's going to be messing up his potential England spot because it's not a guarantee anymore. We haven't got Southgate at the wheel. We've got Tuchel in charge, who's already told the likes of Jack Grealish, if he's not playing regular and he's not playing well, he's not going to be picked. Anthony Gordon will fill into that gap as well. And who's to say, if Gordon doesn't come back with the right mentality, who's to say if Grealish goes somewhere else, he's been linked with Everton and a couple of other clubs, and plays really well and gets back to what we know Grealish can be, who's to say that that position doesn't swap? Because they both play left wing. Who's to say that Grealish comes in and Gordon goes out? It could well happen.
Yeah.
I don't expect it to happen.
Not at Newcastle. You mean England there? Let's just clarify.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean the World Cup squad.
Yeah, exactly.
2026. That's what I meant by that. Sorry.
That's it. Just if Newcastle, if the people behind the scenes at Newcastle were aligned and were doing their job and not ficking off somewhere else, then a deal for Anthony Gordon, if they wanted to sell him, would have been done right at the start of the window, just to get it done, so then we can allow us to go, because we have already so many players and positions to sort out. So again, that's another reason. But that's not to say that Liverpool don't come in with a massive bid or whatever. But cannot see it happening. And the other thing is Chris Hall. Are Everton on some kind of commission for some kind of sell-on clause? Because Chris is mad to offload Anthony Gordon if the right money was to come in from him.
Chris has gone 180 here. He's gone 180 because Chris was a very staunch Gordon supporter. Yes. Even earlier on this season when Gordon was getting some stick, and I remember, he was sticking up for Gordon even when I was kind of questioning him earlier on in the season when he wasn't playing well. So the fact that he's kind of gone 180 in his mindset is the point that I'm making about fans. There are a number of other fans that have gone 180 like Chris and thinking that to the point where they're now considering, if we get 75 million, 80 million, maybe I would sell it. Like, that's the difference in how fans are starting to think about Gordon. That's why I was kind of asking the questions that I was, because there has been a change.
But just remember as well, Chris is probably in a very, very unique situation that he's a Newcastle fan. Yes, he's a Newcastle fan, sitting in Liverpool with having Everton fans and Liverpool fans in his ear the whole time. And the Gordon topic, he's getting it from all sides. So I can see why it is in his mind as well, and it's playing a factor there. And then with him not having a great season, you do kind of start to question. But if I have to have patience, Chris, you have to have faith in Anthony Gordon.
Well, Novo puts ultimately Gordon is replaceable, unlike Tonali and Bruno, which I would agree with that. I think that's a real key point that people may not have considered, is that actually we can replace Anthony Gordon. There are lots of really good left wingers that we could bring in, and let's not forget we have a different type of left winger in Harvey Barnes, but scores goals, gets assists. He is someone that can supplement whoever was else to play on that left-hand side. But look, ultimately, we want Gordon to be back fit, firing and scoring goals and being a menace next season for Newcastle United. That, I think, is everyone's main aim. Any questions, Daz?
One or two, Pete. One or two. Let's see. Try and get. LB 1988 says, "Why are Newcastle selling Isaac to Liverpool? Fake news. It's not happening." Kieran had the link as well to Van Heck, and Yeah, this one, I want to get your opinion on this one from the client. There was a kit picture leaked today, meant to be possibly our away kit. If you listen to Martin of loaded fame, also was saying that it was a goalkeeper kit. But what's your thoughts? Whatever kind of kit it is, what's your thoughts on it, Pete?
I had it, and I did. I do apologize. I was rushing in the build up to the show. I had the picture, and if you 1 second. You bear with me for 10 seconds. I'll actually put the picture up on the screen. For anyone that's not seen it, it is worth just showing them just whilst we give our perspective. So
while you're doing that, I'll just go to another one here from Jimmy Watt. He says, see Chelsea, that's you, Todd, is looking at Nick Waltermaid now. Of course they are. Todd has picked that up from previous shows. And of course, it was a viewer that tipped us off to Nick Waltermaid as well.
Yeah, not happy about that.
Chelsea.
I'm not gonna lie, really not happy about that. And he's actually looked pretty good. In recent performances, he does look good. He looks like he is playing well, which is even more frustrating. Because he's the type of young striker that can come into a team and make a massive difference. Nick Waltermaid. So I think it'd probably be in his best interest to stay another year. If he's going to Chelsea with Delap, with Jackson there, it's going to be detrimental to his career. We know what Chelsea do to strikers. Like, I don't know, did anyone watch the game against LA in the Club World Cup yesterday for Chelsea? Because I watched Delap when he came off the bench. And
what time was it on? It was like crazy o'clock, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was about 8 o'clock. It was like prime time in the evening. It was a decent time, but it was. He comes onto the pitch and like the first touch he has with the ball, he gives it away. He gets tackled, and then he gives a free kick away like a minute later. You're just thinking, are they doing it again? Are they really doing it again? It's Todd's in the chat. Are you doing it again? Are you ruining yet another striker? Because I've not seen him do that all season for Ipswich, and within like 2 minutes of coming off the bench. And you know what annoys me even more about Chelsea, right? Is not only do they do that to Liam Delap coming on, however long he comes on for, 10, 15 minutes. On top of that, you've now got Chelsea fans questioning the signing, saying we shouldn't have signed him, or he ain't that good, and this, that, and the other, and they're already hammering him. And it's just like, are you doing it again, Chelsea? Are you ruining another striker? And I just, you know what? It'd be really sad to see if he does have like a poor showing, because he is actually a quality striker, a quality young striker. I just hope they don't ruin him. I'm having problems getting this picture up, so I don't think it's going to happen. But it's a green.
It's 2 different color greens: the kind of Saudi green and then a lighter green with stripes going across. It's thinner, different kind of minty kind. It's not mint, but it's a different shade of green. It's the one we're talking about. A lot of people don't like it. I don't know. Sorry, go on. You said first.
I was going to say it looks a little bit like our goalkeeper kit from last season. So if you look at Nick Pope's kit from last season,
they had a pattern though, kind of on it.
Yeah,
but I have to say I'm kind of getting sick of the green kits. And I know the reason why we all seem to have a green kit or a white kit with a green trim in it, but I'm just kind of getting sick of it. One, because my green screen, I disappear if I'm wearing a green kit, and I can't do it the other way without the green screen. But I don't know. I don't find a massive problem with the kit, but I just if that's the one, but this wouldn't be my favorite one for sure.
Yeah, it's not as nice as the white kits that we've had, the white sort of Saudi kit, the white kits with the green sort of outlining. Those kits were lovely. I really like the ones that we had there. Yeah, It reminds me a lot of the goalkeeper kit. I'm not like mad at it. It's just very much a basic kit, in my opinion. I kind of hope it's not the third kit, considering we had or the second kit, considering we had the old school David Ginola, Les Ferdinand. In fact, I have it here. You know, when you've had an away kit like this fine specimen of a kit, when you've had that and you go to the green Saudi, it kind of is a backward step, in my opinion.
Well, this would be the third kit. You would imagine that's not the away kit. If that one.
That's what they're dubbing it as that, and obviously it is sort of a leak. It's not confirmed. I wouldn't be against it being a third kit. I'm not fussed if it's a third kit. I just wouldn't want it as our official away kit.
No,
does that sound fair? Kind of.
No, I just automatically assume that if that is real and it's not a goalkeeper kit, that it would be the third kit, and we rarely see the third kit. So, so it didn't really bother me so much. Right, let's move on.
Yeah,
Clivert, the younger Clivert, the son of Patrick, Justin. Would you take him? But as an alternative to Joao Pedro?
Interesting, because it's the one thing that I had on the screen that I didn't bring up, because the link is here. Caught Offside mentioned that we are amongst a number of clubs keen to move for the 26-year-old. Now, we are interested apparently in Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth, so this would very much be an alternative to Semenyo as well. But would I take Justin Kluivert? Yeah, absolutely. Depends on the price. He's had a number of clubs over his career, and he seems to have found his feet in Bournemouth. I think, what is he, 27 right now? Justin Kluivert, is he 26, 27? Let me find out. So he is, he's 26. He's 26, 3 years left on his contract. Yeah, I think it might be a good time to sign him. I think technically he's excellent. He's got a great work rate, high press. He has the fundamentals to play in an Eddie Howe system. So I would love to take him. Like, would I want Joao Pedro ahead of him? Probably. But Justin Kluivert would be a real good, smart, shrewd signing. Depending on how much you're signing for. How much would you pay for Justin Kluivert? Considering we're looking at around the 60 million mark for Joao Pedro, what would you pay for Kluivert?
Okay, answer the question directly. 40, but I don't know if I want him. I thought I think it was at Ajax. Sorry, yeah, he came through Ajax, and I remember him. He's kind of like was a bit of a wonder kid at the time, and I also thought, okay, he'd be good under Newcastle to bring in, but then he went off the boil and it didn't always do great where he ended up, or progress as much as you would expect him to progress. But playing against us, he was class, and he scored a couple of goals against us. But yeah, it's not for me. Joao Pedro, Miles, better suited to what we need. So 40 million, but I don't know if I'd go there. Semenyo, on the other hand, is someone that he was like top of my list of right wingers. Okay, Bueno was number one, but Semenyo was. I just thought, and I don't care what anyone says. What the game I was watching him, he was tracking back, and I was like, oh, "Wow, this lad is class." He is can do things going forward. He tracks back as well. Just thought Eddie Howe could get another level out of him as well, and he'd know everything about him from like Kluivert coming from Bournemouth.
Yeah, Kluivert, he's had a number of different clubs, and he has, like I say, he hasn't quite settled. I'm just looking at his like sort of goal contributions. They're all sort of around the 10, 11, 12. He got at one season at Nice. He got 11 last season for Bournemouth. You know, considering that Joao Pedro got significantly more than that, you know, you're looking at that situation, you're thinking you want more of an outlay for a player that you're bringing in. For me, I don't know whether my valuations are really harsh, but I won't be paying any more than 30 million for Justin Clive.
And then why would they sell him? Well, especially if it's 3 years in his contract. There's no way that sell.
Yeah. Now, Semenyo, as you mentioned, we've been watching Semenyo all season. He is a quality player, and you've touched on a point that I was going to make, and I like the fact that you brought it up because Semenyo is equally as good attacking as he is defense. His defensive numbers are really, really good, and I think he is definitely a player that we should be looking at. However, when when it was reported of a £70 million fee to get him out of Bournemouth, that for me is too high. That is way too high. 70 million is crazy. You know, considering Mbeumo is 65, 70 himself, and he got significantly higher sort of goal contributions, you would expect it would be a lower fee. You know, if it was around Alanga type money that's being banded around the sort of £50 million mark, you would maybe consider that, but not at 70. And I think that would probably put Newcastle off. If that fee comes down, I think Newcastle would be right at the table. I think he's a tremendous player, and I think he'll only get better playing for someone like Newcastle United. You know what? When they beat us at St James's Park, what I liked about him is that within the game he shifted from left to right, and he caused us problems either wing. Defensively, he was very good, but in attacking spaces, he was on the left where he was creating problems in the first half, popped up on the right, and then did the same in the second. I just thought he was really, really good, and I would really like.
There's Clivert you're still talking about.
Now what I was talking about was
it's clear. But I just think Clivert though, and his previous track record as well. Did he just go really up for the Newcastle game because it was against the team that his dad played for, who he obviously would have spent time in Newcastle himself then, and he is he kind of held back? Is his head always in the game? Then I'm just generalizing here, like to get into that elite level that he could have potentially got there. I don't see be playing at Bournemouth being at the elite level. I
was going to say that he finished the season like playing on the bench, like he was coming off the bench, like it wasn't even starting back in the season. So either something's happened or there's been a drop in form. So the point of raising his game at St James's Park, it could actually be quite valid.
Yeah. That would be the doubt about him. If I was doing my scouting report on him, that would be the one factor I kind of question. But not knowing the person, it's hard to tell. But again, Eddie Howe has first-hand information with that from his Bournemouth connections. So on all Bournemouth players. All right, let's go to another comment. Well, let's go to the one from Mr. Chris Hall. He goes, question for you boys. Luke Edwards alluded to the fact that there could be surprises in store this window. And up until recently, we weren't expecting any surprises. In your opinion, which position is more likely to yield a surprise? Goalkeeper, right centre-back, right wing, or striker?
I think two positions could be a surprise. I think right wing and centre-back could be surprise signings. Signings that we didn't expect Newcastle United to go and deliver. And I actually think a squad player could be a surprise. I think there could well be more surprises than general links. And we've talked about it before, Daz. How many times have we had surprise interested players where it's just kind of come out of the blue? We never expected it. We talked about Tonali, Isak, for examples that were kind of tentatively reported, but nothing concrete. Then bang, deal agreed, done. Like there was a bit, and like there was a bit in Luke Edwards' piece that he wrote at the back end of last week with regards to Pedro. And in that piece, it actually said that Newcastle United are happy with the fact that none of their European links, their foreign links, have yet to come out
Yeah.
in the main domain on social media and reports. That tells me that they are surprise signings because we haven't yet been talking about them. That actually excites me a lot. I'm really excited about the fact that we don't know who we're going to sign. And when that deal is agreed, it's going to be done. So when we hear that noise, that player's already on his way to St. James Park. And that's the bit that I'm really looking forward to. What about you, Daz? What positions?
I think right centre back, and then I said, going off the same, the names out there, I said, hey, but we've been talking about Diomande. Why are they picking up on that? But it could be someone totally different. Who we don't know. But I still think Trafford's the goalkeeper. I would imagine the right winger is probably Elanga, and I would class Joao Pedro as the striker or the backup to not the backup to Isaac, but can play in a number of different positions. So I think the right centre back would be the one that would be a bit of a surprise.
I'm going to say something controversial here. I'm going to put it out there. I think Anthony Elanga is a smokescreen. I don't think we're in for it. I do not think we're in for Anthony Elanga. No evidence, just a hunch, just my opinion. I don't think we're going for an Anthony Elanga.
It's a long running smokescreen. Like it started.
I don't. We've had interesting players before, and then it's disappeared. I don't think that we sign Anthony Elanga. I could be wrong. I think another right winger is potentially coming to Newcastle. Well, I say potentially, we have to sign a right winger. I think another right winger is coming to Newcastle United, and I think the stuff in the media is to almost kind of deflect where we're doing our work. And I think Luke Edwards putting that in his piece, I think almost strengthened my thoughts on this because I've had this thought for a while. Just shows how long we've not done a show for. But I've had this thought. I was thinking about this over the weekend, just kind of mulling it over and hearing those reports.
That's what you're thinking about. Yeah. Come here. I would not be doing my job here, Pete, and all the chatters. I'm sure they're going. Ask Pete the question: who does he think the surprise package right winger would be?
I didn't really want to say. I didn't really want to.
I know you didn't. That's why I asked you.
All I'm going to say is someone's put that player in the chat already tonight.
That narrows it down.
So during this show, if anyone wants to scroll back up,
Kieran Dyer, is it? Is it Kieran Dyer?
No. I'm joking. It's Lebo instead now, but no, someone's already put the player that I think it might be in the chat at some point.
Go back and read the chat, everybody.
So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on it. I think it could be well a smokescreen for somebody else.
Right. That's it for the questions. We're going to finish down the questions, but I want to go to this one because it links into our show tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. Because Geordie Toon for Life asked the question, who do you think will be our first game of the season with the fixtures dropping at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning? And he's saying that he's saying maybe Burnley, who've kind of come up against promoted teams the last few times. Yes, I was at that Forest game. And the was that a Southampton game or we're away last season? We're at the home game. Oh no, that was a different season again. Sorry, but good point, Geordie Toon for Life. You can answer the question first, Pete, and then we'll tell people what's happening tomorrow.
So interestingly, actually, there's reports coming out today. I think Jordan Cronin of Newcastle World wrote a piece on this. That actually, there's a high chance that we're going to be playing away from home first game of the season. No, don't do that, Lee. I'm not Anfield first game of the season. You're having a laugh. it'd be a good one to get out the way, but not first game of the season. You want to be picking up 3 points on the first day. I'll tell you what.
And sorry, before you jump in, Pete, there's also this, and I know Darren sent me as well. There's like this every year. These like list of fixtures that are already pre-planned come out, and they never turn out to be true.
Yeah.
But and at that Man City, what Sophie has there, Man City Monday 8:00 first game is. The seed is at land tomorrow, 9 a.m. Sorry, go on.
No, it's I think. Or is it what I think or what I want? What are we going for?
Both, one of each.
Okay. What I think will be someone like Brentford away, first game of the season. What I would like, first game of the season, is Burnley away.
Burnley away. Yeah.
Nice.
The Trafford
nice.
at Newcastle. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. I'm going to say what Iniesta has put here. If it has to be away, I'm going to say Chelsea, and the reason being that Chelsea are playing the World Cup, whatever that's called, Club World Cup thing, and they won't get a holiday or so much of a holiday, and it just might be a bit off the boil, let's say, and start slow. So then maybe just get that out of the way and maybe hopefully get something from it. So that's why if it has to be an away game, someone like that, we have to play everyone anyway. So, but it would also be nice to get off to a good start, of course.
Just imagine if we had this, what Stephen's playing. Just imagine first game of the season at the stadium of what comes out your backside. That would be a hell of a first game of the season.
Yeah.
They would actually, oh man, imagine that. You know what? I'd take it. Would you take that first game of the season?
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. Like build up to the countdown begins then. Like from 9:01 tomorrow, the countdown begins. If that's the case, of course, everyone's going to be looking for when that game is on. I know both those games are on against Sunderland. So and we have to make our own decisions then, Pete, as well, when we're going to have our loaded getaway. So we'll be chatting as well.
I've got a plan on this.
Like that.
I've got a plan on that, by the way. I've got a vision, so we'll talk about it. We talk.
But linking into that conversation,
I was going to say, Iniesta Wijnaldum has maybe linked into that. I've starred it. Do you want me to click it?
Yes, he asked the question. We need more loaded shows. Yes, and we have more loaded shows. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. We're back with a guest.
A big one.
A big guest.
Let's talk about it.
You do know there's only one Sky Sports Pete. He's back. He's back.
Yes. Absolutely delighted to have Pete Graves of Sky Sports come and join us tomorrow evening, 8:00. Put it in your notifications. In fact, you know what? You've got 300 in the chat. Everyone click the notification bell right now so it can show you when the show is about to start. There's only one Sky Sports Pete. Of course, it's Pete Graves. He's going to come and talk all things Newcastle United. We're going to be talking fixtures. We're going to be looking at the fixtures in detail. We're going to be looking at Newcastle United news, Paul Mitchell, and any links of transfers. And hopefully we get a little smidgen of information from Pete. We know he always gets his little nuggets of knowledge of what's going on in Newcastle United. So we will be putting that knowledge to the test tomorrow night.
Now it's live. It's live on your YouTube. So you'll be able to see the notifications. Like a lot of things, we have things hidden in the background that you cannot see them until we press that button. So it is pressed now, ready to go for tomorrow. So Chris will be back for that one as well. So we'll have a full house unloaded. That is it for tonight. We are going to say goodbye. And can I switch over? I think I can. No, I can't. You'll have to switch me over, Pete.
Where are we going?
We're going for
Yeah,
let's go. Let's play out with the tune. I don't know what little tune we play. This one. It's in the old kit. It has some old players in it, but let's play this one. We will see you tomorrow at 8:00. Thanks for joining us. Smash that like button on the way out. Have a good one.
Each and every single day, I know I'm gonna have to eventually give you away. I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. I don't know where my soul is. I don't know where my home is. I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. I don't know where my soul is. I don't know where my home is. I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. I don't know where my soul is. I don't know where my home is.